Hey everybody! Another in our series of cancer survivor tips. Today we're going to focus on staying hydrated, which is a challenge, at least for me. And I found again that I couldn't remember all my tips and tricks from the last time. So again, I'm recording this for you and for me if I ever need it in the future. So staying hydrated. Why is it important we hydrate? And I think the number one is preventing dehydration. We all know that that's a big concern, especially for cancer patients or any patient. The side effects of dehydration on top of whatever you're going through are not going to be fun to experience, and further, often will result in a hospitalization when you put it all together. So staying hydrated is probably one of the easiest, hardest things to do to keep yourself out of the hospital. That's not to say it's foolproof and you won't have other side effects, but if you're able to keep yourself hydrated, you're more likely not to have to be hospitalized. Double fingers crossed. In addition, essentially staying hydrated and going to the bathroom a lot will help help your body to process the chemo, and further, it helps prevent damage to your kidneys, bladder, and all blood vessels, all the things, because if the chemo's moving, it has less chance to stay in one place and burn through or wreck anything. And they're particularly concerned with your bladder, your kidneys, and all those things, because if you think about them, they're repositories that hold things. And if you are very slow to fill your bladder to go to the bathroom, then that means that chemo's hanging out there for longer and longer and could be damaging the bladder or kidneys longer, and so forth. So getting everything to go through as quickly as possible, well, not as quickly as possible, but not to hang out there, is the name of the game. So as far as hydration goes, caffeine-free fluid is what they're talking about. When you drink something with caffeine, I've heard different things. Some people say that it's the opposite of hydrating. Other people say you can only count 50% of the fluid. Just kind of remember they're talking about caffeine-free. That's not to say, talk to your doctor. Some chemotherapies are contraindicated with caffeine. Mine was, but not all of them are. So just keep that in consideration and your doctor will let you know. So let's talk about the tips. So that's why we need to stay hydrated. What are the tips to stay hydrated? As I said, it's the hardest, easiest thing, right? In your brain, staying hydrated seems like an easy thing. We do it all the time. But actually implementing it, especially when you're not feeling well and all the other things on top of it, not always easy. So these are my tips. So number one for me, and the one that I forgot, is the material that your cup, glass, vessel, your fluid vessel, is made out of. So as is the case with a lot of people, I was using a lot of double-walled stainless steel for keeping my stuff cold or hot. Especially when I was out and about. The downside here was that I already had that disgusting metallic taste in my mouth. And so adding the stainless steel on top of it, stainless steel straw, big no-no. So here are some of my solutions. Glass. Silicone, right? So I use silicone or glass straws. Silicone was easier as far. This particular one I found actually made this kind of waterproof so I could travel with it. Plastic. This is a double-walled Tbsp tumbler here in the US, but I'm sure there's other places. So again, double-walled. And then ceramic, right? Ceramic, porcelain, whatever. So these are the types of vessels to hold my fluid in, so that it doesn't have the disgusting taste is not furthered. I guess that's the way to say it. The next thing that I don't really think about, and I think most people don't think about, is the temperature of the fluid. And this is something that you will have to experiment with. Obviously, everything we drink has a wide variety of temperatures. Ice cold, we got ice in it. Just cold, like came out of a cold dispenser. Room temperature, a warm, or hot, like boiling, or somewhere between warm and boiling. My experience, and it may be your experience or may not, is that the hot, like boiling type of thing is not on the table, especially right after a treatment, like for some period of time, because you already have mouth sores and other things going on in your mouth and it's uncomfortable. And likewise for me, I couldn't do ice cold right after a treatment, like when I had the whole mouth thing going on, but I could do cold, and sometimes I could do ice, like I could suck on ice and it would make things feel a little better. But overall, the middle of the road was what was good for me in the height of my treatment. The cold to room temperature to warm, like that area was the most comfortable for my mouth and allowed me to drink more. When it was the other temperatures, I could have a sip here and there, but I couldn't really drink. That makes sense. And I guess that I already touched on this, but remember that the temperature may change throughout your cycle. So for me, this last time, it was a 3-week cycle, and first week and a half was not good, and I had to restrict. And then as I got farther and farther away, then I could change, right? So I could have a little more ice cold or a little more hot, those kinds of things. But that's something, again, you have to experiment with what appeals to you, what tastes good, what helps you to drink. Now, taste is the next thing. And this is a big issue. At least I found this to be a big issue. Even if you are an avid water drinker before your treatment starts, you're one of those people carrying around a Stanley, or you take a gallon and you drink a gallon before lunch and another gallon in the evening, or whatever your rules are for drinking. Even if you're those people, it's not going to be an easy thing to stay hydrated when you're in treatment, because everything tastes off, or depending on the chemo you're on, it might taste metallic, or I always described it as like pennies in my mouth, that copper taste. Not that I ever ate pennies, but you have that metallic taste. So some of the tips that I found that worked for me and might work for you is to add a splash, a teaspoon or a tablespoon. Now I'm talking about a very little bit, 2 cups maybe. 2 cups of water to a teaspoon or tablespoon of juice. Any juice that you have on hand, apple juice, orange juice, anything. It's not going to be enough to really make the water be juice flavored, but what it does is that bit of sweetness counteracts the metallic, yucky taste that's in your mouth, and now the water is just more palatable. I don't know why it works. It's some kind of trick in your taste buds, but it works, and it let me drink more water because it didn't taste totally disgusting. I'm trying. Let's see. Sorry, checking the notes. Another tip in similar vein is to add electrolyte or protein powders. That it doesn't have to be a full dose. It can just be partial, enough to counteract that metallic taste. So if you had like a fruity taste, or even a chocolate, or whatever thing might appeal to you, it's not going to taste the same, and it's barely going to have a taste, but it's going to be enough to take the edge off the disgusting taste in the water. Fingers crossed. I guess likewise, you could do those squeezy, I've never done them personally, but there's like these squeeze add-ons for water flavor. You might be able to do a little squeeze of that. That might do the same thing. Not personally tried it, but might be worth it. Another thing for water is sparkling water. Not for every time I've done chemo, but at least once or twice for the chemo, I was able to drink consistently sparkling water, even without any additives, like with my SodaStream machine or whatever. But I couldn't just do flat water. So sparkling water was more palatable for some reason, or the bubbles, or the little bit of, some people say it has a little bit of a salty taste when you get sparkling water. That was enough to counteract the other tastes that were overwhelming it. Let's see, what's next? I guess all beverages are going to taste off. Nothing is going to taste as sweet or as tart as you think it should taste, right? So setting your expectations, just having lower expectations, that it's not going to taste, you're craving that big glass of orange juice or mimosa or whatever your thing is, right? And it's so great and it's refreshing and all the things, and then you take a drink and it's gross. It doesn't do the thing that it used to do. It's not refreshing. It doesn't have that sweet or tart or whatever the taste is that you liked. That's kind of long for par for the course in this case. So kind of lower your expectations. And for me, it was, my expectations for drinking was that it wasn't gross and did not trigger nausea. So I didn't have any expectation that it would taste the way I normally expected it to taste. I just wanted it to not make me sick and to hydrate me, if that makes sense. Some other choices would be tea. And again, you can have your tea cool or cooling instead of hot, or iced tea even. I did drink a lot of peppermint tea this round. And I drank it in warm, hot, and cold, depending on how I was feeling. And sometimes I added a little splash, tablespoon or 2, to a cup of water, and that was enough to counteract again. So the tea could do the same thing as the juice, right? Broth, particularly bone broth, is high in protein and electrolytes, so that might be a good option to help with your nutrition as well as your hydration. And you could stick that in the microwave for a couple, 30 seconds and warm it up a little bit if you want to like a warm drink. I'm not a fan of it cold, but it's not horrible. Let's see, taste aversion. Is that everything? Taste aversions. Okay, so this kind of, again, par for the course, and smell aversions. They say it's a taste aversion, but it kind of is hand in hand. So I could say after my first chemo, within a week of my first chemo treatment, I was unable to drink coffee. Now, I wasn't a massive coffee drinker, so it wasn't a catastrophe. But then following that, I couldn't smell coffee. I couldn't walk by a Starbucks in the mall or Dunkin' Donuts. Like the smell of it would trigger a retching and vomiting. So just be aware that some things that, you may be drinking coffee for 20 years or whatever the thing is, and now the smell of it or the taste of it is triggers. You got to give it up for a little while, I'm sorry to say. If you want to, there are methods for working through taste aversions. I'm not sure when you're on chemo is the time. Hopefully your chemo will be bounded, and when the chemo is done, you can reintroduce your favorite thing. And if it's not bounded and you want to start to reintroduce it through taste aversion therapies, you can do that. I'll leave that on you. So next idea. I think I'm on idea 4 here. Do you have trouble eating? I did. Let's drink some calories, right? So some ideas for drinking calories are meal replacement shakes, smoothies, and soups. And these are all, this isn't brain surgery. You guys have all done, you know this. But thinking about your hydration as the full picture might help. Another thing that I did, especially, I did have a period where I was pretty close to dehydrated and kind of worried I might have to go to the hospital. So this was the thing I did, and I kept doing it for the rest of my treatment, which was treat drinking like medication. So just like I had my I was recording my medication, and I had to take it at regular intervals to manage my nausea or different symptoms, or for caring, or like as part of the, I was taking dexamethasone steroid. I had to take it, at these certain intervals around my treatments, all those things. So I had, we have a schedule for when we take our medication. Treat drinking just the same. As an example, take just one mouthful of water every 15 minutes will prevent you from getting dehydrated. And if you do 2 or 1 every 5 minutes or 1 every 10 minutes, you have to figure out what works for you. But just kind of forcing yourself, while you're awake, obviously, and treating it like it's medication, which it kind of is. That helped by changing my brain, by changing my approach, my brain, the way I was thinking about it. I wasn't just drinking because I was thirsty. I was drinking because it was medication. I needed to drink to keep myself healthy. And then in my last tip, number 6, is food if this all is too challenging, and it is, I recognize that it was challenging for me, is to eat foods with high water content if you can. Find the ones that are appealing to you or not, and eat those for a little bit if you have to, or in the hardest days, right? So as an example, I found a reference at UCLA Health. Let's see. For foods with high water content. I'll share the link down below. But all these ones I'm going to read off. Sorry, why is this not moving? Sorry, 1 second. There we go. All these ones I'm going to read off right now have more than 90% water content for their weight, essentially. So, and the benefit to some of these would be that you're also getting minerals and vitamins, supplementing, right, your water intake. So, and that might even help your body to process it better. And if you're like me and you're not eating great, this will also help, stabilize your electrolytes and all those things. All right, so these, from the highest water content to the lowest, I'm going to read them off. And cucumbers, iceberg lettuce, celery, radishes, romaine lettuce. Those all are above 95%. 95% or above. Now, these are all from 90 to 94%. Tomatoes, zucchini or summer squash, asparagus, bell peppers, cabbage, cauliflower, mushrooms, and spinach. These are all veggies. They may or may not appeal to you. You might find one or two of those things are palatable to you. Some may be totally disgusting texture-wise or taste or smell. You'll have to, take it with a grain of salt. On the fruit side, strawberries and watermelon are also above 90. Oranges are 87. I forget what grapes are. So there's I'm just kind of pointing out there's other options. Hydration is a full picture. So these are my ideas and thoughts. Do you have any great tips for keeping hydrated? Share them down below so everybody else can benefit from them. I hope some of this works. And if not, I hope we get some great ideas down below. I certainly don't think I have all the ideas. And I'll see you next time. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. Be well.